Hello, my name's Mark Thompson. One of the experiments in my book, Science for Exploring Outer Space, shows how you can hunt for meteorites. You've probably heard of meteors or meteorites before and may well have even seen one without realising it. Or let me put it another way. Have you ever seen a shooting star? Shooting stars are nothing to do with stars. They're chunks of rock travelling through space. Imagine your mum or dad's car travelling along a country road heading through a swarm of flies. As the car travels through them, the flies get squished on the front of the car. In the same way, as the Earth travels through space, it often comes across bits of rocks, sometimes a single rock that happens to drift by the Earth, or sometimes loads of them, or dust, that's fallen off a comet. Now, the Earth hits the rocks in the same way that a car hits the flies, but before the rocks hit the Earth, they have to travel through the atmosphere. The atmosphere is made up of layers of gas, mostly nitrogen and oxygen, and as the rocks fall through it, they cause the gas to glow, making them look like stars whizzing across the sky. Most of the rocks will get destroyed high up in the atmosphere, and they're called meteors, while those that make it to the ground are called meteorites. This is a meteorite that was discovered in the Arctic and is made of iron and nickel. Now, we go on special trips to the Arctic to find them because they're a lot easier to find when they sit on top of the white snow and ice. Of course, they can land anywhere, but as you can see, trying to find this meteorite in your garden would not be easy because it looks just like a normal stone. The hunting for meteorite activity shows you a couple of tests that you can perform to see if the rocks that you can find in your garden are likely to be space rocks. So get out there, collect a load of stones, and let's get testing. Okay, so I've got a few stones from the garden, and we can do those few simple tests to work out what some of them are. Any yellowy, brown or white ones that we find probably aren't going to be meteorites, but they could be something equally as exciting: limestone. These rocks are made up of millions of bits of tiny bones and shells from dead animals. The bony bits of their bodies are made up from something called calcium carbonate. To test if they are a limestone and therefore hold signs of life on Earth, place them in a glass bowl and pour in enough white vinegar to cover them. Look closely, and if the rock bubbles and fizzes, then it's limestone. White vinegar is slightly acidic, and when you pour it onto the limestone, the calcium carbonate goes through a chemical reaction and produces a gas called carbon dioxide, the same gas that you breathe out. And you see that as a stream of bubbles fizzing out of the rock. If it doesn't bubble, then it's not limestone. So let's move on to the next test and see if it might be a meteorite. Rocks from space often have metal inside them, so if your rock sticks to a magnet, then it's passed the test. If it doesn't stick to a magnet, it could still be a meteorite, but it's less likely. The final test is to get hold of a kitchen tile, preferably a white one. Ask your mum, dad or teacher to help you with finding one, turn it over and rub the rock hard against the back of the tile. If it leaves a streak on the tile, then it's most likely to be a rock from Earth because they are usually quite soft, and as they're scraped against the hard, rough tile surface, the rock gets powdered up, leaving the streak. Meteorites tend to be quite hard, harder than the tile, so they leave no streak. If your rock passes these tests, then you may well have found your very own space rock, and it's worth taking it along to your local university or geological society to get it checked. There are many other tests that can be done in a laboratory to check where a rock has come from. These rocks don't look anything special, but laboratory testing has shown that this one that we saw earlier is a metal meteorite, and if we cut through it, we would see something like this, a solid chunk of metal which probably came from an asteroid beyond Mars. But this small little grey rock is much more fascinating. It looks like a piece of limestone, but it didn't come from Earth. It came from somewhere a little bit further away. In fact, 384,400 kilometres away. This is a piece of the moon. A long time ago, a meteorite struck the moon and sent some of the moon's surface flying out into space. And this tiny piece found its way to us here on Earth, and it was laboratory testing which showed us how special it really is. Spend some time hunting around your garden or school grounds. Maybe take a magnet and run it along the edge of your house where it meets the ground. And any little bits of stone or dust that stick to it are metallic and may well be tiny bits of space dust. Keep them safe and show all your friends.